Assalamu alaikum. It is 11:02 a.m. Central African Time. Coming to you live from Salam Media Studios in Johannesburg. I'm Aaliyah, your host today. This is the Mid-Morning Talk, sponsored by SANZAF, the South African National Zakah Fund, changing lives through development and relief. Your zakah does more than meet immediate needs. It builds lasting legacy. Through SANZAF's partnership with Fundani, young women across Johannesburg are given the tools to build confidence, strengthen character, and lead with purpose. Because real change takes education, mentorship, and opportunity. Follow the SANZAF Green Bus Tour online or donate toward our empowerment programs today at sanzaf.org.za. Today, our first guest, we've got quite a lineup for you. Our first guest in studio today is the Saaleha Idrees Bamjee, a pillar of the South African literary and creative community. Welcome and thank you for joining us in studio.
Assalamu alaikum, Aaliyah. Thank you so much for having me and for saying such nice things.
So, for those of you who don't know, Saaleha is a photographer and writer based in Johannesburg. She has an MA in creative writing from Rhodes University and is the winner of the 2014 Writivism Short Story Prize. Her debut collection, Zikr, by the way, if you've not got yourself a copy yet, please make sure that you do, and ideally from an independent bookstore. So her debut collection was published by Uhlanga Press in 2018, and it very deservedly won the 2020 Ingrid Jonker Poetry Prize. So to start off, what are you reading at the moment, and is there any writing or writer that currently intrigues you?
Well, I went through a run where I was reading these very quick, twisting the tail, sort of like thriller reads. But that was more just to like pass time and not let my brain work very well.
Which is always important.
And Book Talk obviously steered me towards these writers. So obviously fun reads. What I have started reading a bit more seriously is I watched The Odyssey. So I'm like, I'm going to read The Odyssey. About a quarter way through.
Quite a mammoth task.
Yeah. And so it's a classical form of writing. It's a bit difficult to sort of get into. But yesterday I was in Exclusive Books and I saw that there was a version by Stephen Fry that was a lot more readable, and I actually wished I'd picked up that one. I think that's a bit more of a modern read. I don't think the story's changed.
Is it a condensed version or is the language just different?
The language is different. I think he's made it more approachable because what I'm not really battling, but what is also sort of like taking my attention away from the page is there so much of importance in like the Greek mythology about who the characters are and so-and-so, son of so-and-so, but then you never hear about them again. It's just important so that kind of pulls me out of the text a bit. But it's interesting. It's a very lyrical way of writing. It reminds me a lot of like really older things. And I still think there is some kind of merit in that sort of like flowery kind of stuff. Different to that, I just picked up Shattered Lands by Sam Dalrymple.
Okay.
It's about partition, and so I'm finding it, well, I've just gotten through the intro, but there's like things that I didn't really realize about what had happened during the break-up of that region.
So
and
it's a fictional representation?
No. It's a non-fiction. So totally different, just to try and get more of an overview of that area. Yeah. Like I didn't realize that the British influence had extended like all the way up to like Yemen and parts of like what we now call the UAE. Apparently there was this thing about how the Brits were a bit protective about how much they owned. Mm-hmm. And there was one quote that I found funny. They said the British were sort of like, it's so Orientalist, but it said something like how a sheikh has a favorite wife that he wants to sort of keep under wraps. That's how the British were with some of their territories. So they didn't like outwardly declare that we also have control of these areas, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see. I mean, it's because thinking of like borders now, like we went to Pakistan last year and then someone was telling me, but now if you want to go to India, it's going to be a bit of an issue. I'm thinking, but these things were, I mean, so many years ago, we would have just been, been able to cross as we wanted to.
I always say that we think the world is connected now, but if you look at the past and how far sort of caravans were able to travel without visas, I think we're fooling ourselves into thinking that
for sure.
things are better.
No, the hoops you have to go through just to be allowed to enter a place.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, thank you for sharing. I will definitely check it all out.
Yeah, it's quite it looked interesting. Yeah.
So I know that you studied creative writing, and that's part of your journey towards becoming a writer. And as someone who hasn't sort of like formally studied creative writing and has tried to write myself. How did your formal studies shape you as a writer? And do you have any tips for us writers out there?
So I don't think anyone has to have like a sort of a degree to write, obviously, right? What the sort of okay, let me say what the advantages were of that master's in creative writing. I got the opportunity to sort of like network, and like we had this peer review group, which was very helpful because, you know, writing is a very solitary exercise unless you are active in finding other writers and joining writing circles and that type of thing. So in this, we were kind of forced, I mean, not really forced, but I mean, yeah, we were now in this sort of organized group of people. And it was interesting because the writers were all different ages, from different backgrounds, different parts of South Africa, and it was a part-time program, so we didn't have to be in Grahamstown throughout the 2 years. We just had to go for a contact week each year where we got to meet everyone, and the rest of it was all online. So yeah, the value in that was being able to just bounce your ideas off everyone, and everyone having to give that constructive, very important, the constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
I actually found it quite difficult at first because I think my personality is that I'm not really I wouldn't say combative, I think that's the wrong word, but I'm kind of the person who can kind of like see merit in everything, and I had to sort of now really learn how to look at a text and be like, critical. Okay, it reads well, but what could make it better? And doing that to other people's work also helps you with your own work, because you don't just take everything as, oh, I wrote this amazing thing and everyone better love it because people won't. Right? The other benefit to the MA, apart from the sort of like peer review process, was they gave us such a great reading list, and it was such varied reading, from classics to modern stuff, to plays, to poetry collections, different genres, science fiction, speculative fiction, all that kind of thing. So it was interesting to see how you could take techniques from like different genres and maybe incorporate a bit of that in your work. So if you were like, say, a non-fiction writer, how would you take narrative fiction techniques to kind of make your true story more interesting and more engaging? And the other thing about the creative writing program is that you need to have a finished work at the end of it. So it pushes you to create something. So you could have either written a play or a collection of poetry or a full-length book. When I went in, I thought, I'm going to write a book, right? I had some vague idea about something I wanted to write. Fiction, but also sort of based on like some family stuff. But then I realized, when you're writing things that are partly based on truth, there's a lot of things like... You have to deal with other personalities in your family, and what do people want to be out there? Absolutely. So it was too tricky for me at the time. I don't think I was ready to write it. It will maybe be some years before I feel I'm ready to write it. So then I thought, let me write poems, because, poetry is so fun and easy. No. So it was actually more difficult to put together a work of poetry. And I think it pulled more out of me, which I'm grateful for, because a lot of the poems that came out of that ended up in Zikr. So that was quite
amazing.
Cool. Yeah,
I definitely agree. I think, poems have to be so intentionally crafted. There's so much technique that goes into them. And you only have like a few words or a few lines or a few pages to say what you want to say. So thank you for your poetry. I mean, I'm really happy that we have it and we can read it, and it's also just sort of like a narrative of South African Muslim women as well. And I think that's really important, because we don't have many of those voices in poetry in South Africa. So I think we're going to jump into Zikr, to the poetry book then. So I remember I wasn't able to attend your launch because I wasn't in the country, but I made sure to get a copy. So it's not signed, but maybe we can do that today.
I will.
Okay. And I remember when I was paging through the poems, because I skimmed through all of them before I did a close reading of all of them, and I remembered one of the poems from an event, a poetry event that we attended many years ago at Industry Bakery, which was a lovely space. I really miss it. And I remember you reciting the poem It was like Good Girls.
Oh, everybody
and
loves that
I always remembered, and I remembered like the first 2 lines. So would you be able to read that for us just before we go to the break?
See, what page did they put that on? Sorry.
Sure.
Good Girls.
Good Life.
The Good Life. The
yes.
Good Life. That's it. Yeah.
I did make a note of it.
Yes, there we
You've
go.
got it. Okay, cool.
The Good Life. Good girls clean chickens, love their grannies, marry well, cry in cupboards, dust under dresses, don't visit empty-handed. Good girls want their children, go on beach holidays, Google recipes for red velvet, make biryani for 50, thread just the bottom of their brows, make Juma lunch. Good girls come like in the movies, wax until they shine, swallow on demand, hum within reason, don't scratch their pots, put up with a hell of a lot.
Thank you. It's really nice to hear you recite it again. And I think what I really like about this poem is that it's such a universal experience. I don't think that there's a woman that doesn't relate to that, because there's always this weight of expectations that we're living under, and different people have different definitions of like what makes a good girl. And it is Women's Month,
yes,
and so of course we hope that that these expectations sort of just dissolve and melt away, because we are tired of putting up with a hell of a lot. Yeah. So what was your inspiration for this poem? How did it come about?
The wild thing with poems are sometimes they start with like a random line. I'm trying to think what was the genesis of this one. It probably was something about, again, you were talking about like societal expectations. So it was things like, don't visit someone's house empty-handed, right? Which, mind you, is actually not a bad thing.
Yes,
absolutely. There's generosity in that, and it's a lovely gesture. Or maybe it was just like social media at the time, because I talk about red velvet, which was like a craze back then.
My word,
do you remember
yes.
the red velvet fad? And just like trying to be the best, like you had to always put your best foot forward, whether it's the way you look, the way you dressed, how you came across to people. So I think it was just like a couple of those things that just sort of I think led to this one. But it was that first line, good girls clean chickens.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just go to the butcher and I tell the guy, cut this up for curry for me,
fine.
please. That's perfectly fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're going to go for a quick ad break, but please stay with us and we will discuss some more poetry after the break.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Hey, Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bhai, you didn't.
Oh, no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating inspiring.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Barakah Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Barakah's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Barakah makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albarakah.co.za to learn more. Al Barakah, your partner bank. Al Barakah Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your host Aaliyah for the Mid-Morning Talk, proudly sponsored by Sanzaf. And so let's get back into the poetry. We had a beautiful recital from Saaleha Idrees Bamjee, who is with us in studio today. Her poem, The Good Life, from Zikr. This is the collection of poems. If you haven't yet got a copy, I highly recommend it. Still speaking about poetry, how did you decide which poems made it into the collection, and were there any poems that you wanted to be in the collection but just, didn't make it?
So I'll tell you a bit about how Zikr came about. There was an open call by the publisher, Ushlanga Press. What did we say? It was like 2018, I think, at the time, right? So what I had done was I basically selected every single poem of mine that had ever been accepted anywhere. So it was sort of like a best of greatest hits thing that went through to him. Then when I got the positive response from them that they did want to publish Zikr, very excited at the time. We obviously had to look now for a sort of central theme, because I think at the time I'd sent everything. So the poems were wasn't like a common theme really. Maybe the common theme just maybe being a woman, a Muslim woman, Muslim Indian woman growing up in South Africa, and sort of like some experiences. But some things were very different. There were poems about my husband and like random things, poems about pomegranates and things that didn't really work for the theme. So what had happened was Nick had gone through, that's my editor, Nick Mulgrew. He'd selected the ones that he felt were the strongest and sort of found like a thread sort of going through that. So the thread was sort of like memory, growing up, womanhood, bodyhood, themes along those lines. And then I had to write some poems to fill in the gaps. So there were a few new ones
that
I kind of had to, not like...
What's one of them that you had to write for the collection specifically?
I'm thinking there was one called, it was such a little one. I'm trying to think. I didn't even think it was this one called Ectopic, which is just 2 lines.
When you said little one, I was thinking of that one.
And the poem is, parents don't have to be parents to hold things their children touch. And there was more to it. It was a much longer work, and he was like, no, those 2 lines are everything you need to know. Because I think the line was about your pregnancy test and the lines on the test, and that being an indication. And there was more to it.
Interesting.
And obviously he's like, no, we don't need all that. We just need those. So I think that was one of the ones, because obviously that then dealt with the themes of like infertility and parenting and motherhood and that type of thing. So that was one of them. There was this other one that I kind of wrote very differently from how I usually write. It was called In the Soft Caramel Season. It's a little more abstract than what I usually write, but I just like the lyrics, the way it was. We are in the thick of love, under secrets held by the rain, atop murmuring moss. That one I sort of wrote that based on like, fridge poetry.
Okay.
Where you can choose specific words and sort of create a poem out of that. So sort of like building a poem just from words and trying to fill in with something that makes more sense.
Oh, beautiful.
So it was an interesting way of working.
Beautiful result. Yeah.
So if you are someone who's stuck for writing, prompts really help, random words and that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's how the poems came to be. I don't think I regret any not really appearing, because I think as a collection it feels quite whole. And maybe, well, it's good to have extra poems because I can just like slot them into another book.
Yeah.
Just as the
No,
reserve.
it's amazing that you explain that because the poems fit so well together.
So there was, the editing to
yeah.
actually like fit them, and even order was very important. So there is kind of like a journey as you go through the book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then I think, how then did you arrive at the title?
My initial title was something taken from one of the poems. It was supposed to be a much longer title.
Okay.
Kamford Zikr Tisbi Tongue. That's long. That's really long.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you just call it Zikr? And I thought, okay, that's interesting because it's such a short, small word, but Zikr encompasses
So
a range of
much.
things,
Yeah.
right? Zikr is devotion, it's remembrance, it's repetition, it's being aware of something greater than you are. And I thought, isn't poetry like a zikr, because you are acknowledging something beyond yourself, and if you're pulling from memory, it's remembrance, and there's repetition in the
Yes, that
lines.
is so
I don't know, it just
beautiful,
felt so like encompassing. My only worry though was I didn't want like non-Muslim readers to think, oh, these are like Muslim poems,
Yeah,
or what is zikr? Is this like an Islamic book? Like, will there be something in it for me?
But I feel like
Yeah.
you don't have that problem.
I hope
think
not.
the-
It's just the people like maybe the pronunciation, zikr,
Yeah.
like that. But that's,
I've
that's
seen
fine.
I've seen a lot of people share your poetry, and they're both from the
All
Muslim
over
and
that.
non-Muslim
That's great,
community.
that's great.
So
They
it has reached
yeah.
everyone,
That's good,
which is
that's good.
beautiful because I think that's a success of good writing, right? Like it has a universal resonance.
And for me, that was important. Like, I wanted anyone to pick this up and be like, oh, that could have been my granny, or something I went through losing someone. That was important for me, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we also know that you're an amazing photographer.
Thank you.
Anyone who doesn't know, I encourage you to follow Saaleha on Instagram. What is your handle?
So it's Saaleha_B. So it's SAALEHA_B.
Yeah, which is where you will find a lot of beautiful images. I was just telling her during the ad break that one of my favorite images that she shared recently was the one of bananas from her garden. It's just the way that she captivated it was just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Because it's just such an ordinary thing, and you made it look
I love
so
taking
beautiful.
photographs of like fruit in
Yeah.
interesting light. I know
Fruit deserves
it's
to be
such an
photographed.
easy subject in a way, but I love imperfect fruit. So if I find a pear that's interesting, and also
Okay.
sometimes when you get a surprise in a bag of apples,
Yes.
and there's still like a leaf on a stem, I love that.
the
It's
wonky
like,
fruits and vegetables.
and I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? That leaf is like the fruit holding on to the memory of the orchard. Like, that's so special.
Have
to
any
me.
of your poems been inspired by photos?
Yes, there was something about paper clips. What was it?
It's the one about prayer.
Is it? Yes. Which one was that
quite
one? So how that one came to be?
It's okay, you can take some time to look through it.
Where was that one?
I think it's number 32, I the Divine.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So where I say I take the wire from 3 paper clips and shape them to look like abstract forms in prayer. So there was actually something that I'd done. There were like these paper clips, and I was like playing around with them, and they really did look like people bending over.
Yes.
And I'd photographed them, and I thought, wow, this could be like something. So sometimes that does help to look at an image.
I
It's
really
also-
love that image. It's so like playful. And I also think, I mean, I see all these pictures of like kids online, like
yeah?
having all their toys and like
Yes.
dolls, like praying with them,
that's
and how they kind of like doing the same thing, but just not with a paperclip.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's also interesting that we like that we sort of like committed also to like these visuals of our everyday life and see them in different ways and in different objects. And
You're actually
I
giving
really
me an
love
idea
that,
for
yeah.
another collection.
Yay!
Where I should actually, because that is a form of, it's a genre of poetry. They call it ekphrastic poetry,
Yeah.
where you look at an image and sort of write about what you see or have that. So maybe I should do that, like go through
photo album and poetry,
and like
maybe.
do something like that.
Yeah,
That
it would
could
be
interesting,
beautiful,
yeah.
especially because you chose the cover of your own poetry book.
Yes, so this was quite an interesting process. So how it come about it was the publisher asked me to just send him a couple of images that I thought. So
Yeah.
I just went through my archive and I'm like, what are the most sort of like abstracty like poetry-like book images. And then there was this one, which is actually, there was a time when I was into paper cutting. I go through these phases in my life. So in that life, I was very much into... I think I downloaded this pattern, printed it out, and then sat with my little X-Acto knife and cut out this pattern. And I thought it would make an interesting shadow thing, right? So that's what I did. I remember even photographing this. It was actually on my sink in the kitchen. Like that's where that photo happened. And when he selected this one, I thought, how apt, because... Again, we're talking about
the
zikr, repetition.
Yeah.
We're talking about reflection and paper cutting
light,
in itself.
Darkness.
Yeah. And then when you're sitting, it's very meditative, which is what like poems are
beautiful.
Like.
It's genuinely the perfect picture.
I was like, wow, how did he get this? And then what he did was he then took the core image and then repeated it again. The repetition came in. So I was like very chuffed. I was like, this is such a meta cover. It's like
it is. It's so you though. You know? I think it really encapsulates you.
So that was on the back.
But congratulations. I mean, it's really a triumph of a collection. And I read a lot of poetry collections.
Wow. Thank you so much.
But I do return to it quite often. And in fact, your grandmother poem at the beginning, I think maybe we'll close with that. It's about your grandmother breaking her hip. I actually wrote a response to that poem. I think I should send it
share
to you.
It with me.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, this was My Grandmother Breaks Her Hip was actually the title of my thesis collection. So this first poem was sort of like the hinge.
Okay,
book,
amazing.
Kind of,
And it's also beautiful that it opens with that poem as well. Yeah, so I think could you recite that poem for us?
Okay. My grandmother breaks her hip. My grandmother says we've brought her here to die. Her broken bone picks under our fingernails, a splintered stick splitting the tissue beds, prying us apart. We give her pills for our pain. Her cataracts cloud over her, but she can see old blood on the ceiling of the state hospital. My mother is wrung out. The guilt stretches across her bed, nesting on sheets of the unsigned hospital plan. The doctor at the clinic tells my uncle hip operations cost hundreds of thousands. Old people don't make it that far. My mother says we've put a price on my grandmother.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I mean, you write about grief and heaviness so well. I think very often, because I mean, I've tried writing along these themes, and I think it sometimes can sound very cliched, but I think you have a way of just making the experience sound so unique.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for your beautiful poems. Thank you so much for coming in today. And please, listeners, stay with us after the ad break. We have another very exciting guest. Thank you so much, Saaleha, and please go and buy the book.
You again. Yeah.